December the 27th, 2024. Guys, you're looking at some information that came in on Zero Hedge this afternoon at 2:40 p.m. I think this is Eastern time. And it says Biden unveils the biggest surge in arms to Ukraine with just 3 weeks until Trump is sworn in. What he did is very similar to what Obama did when he was leaving office. You remember the U.S. military cargo planes landing, was it Iraq or Iran? Iran, I think it was, loaded with pallets of U.S. money just being pushed out to someone else's hand just as Obama was leaving. I remember it very well. And, you know, of course, the big guy will always get his 10%. Well, now we're seeing this again. This last week has seen sustained major Russian strikes involving drone and missile barrages targeting Ukraine's infrastructure. This followed a Ukrainian drone strike on a Russian residential building in Kazan, which is far away from the front lines. Wednesday alone saw Russia fire some 170 drones and missiles at Ukrainian energy infrastructure. Guys, they've really taken a lot of the energy out of this area. They also have taken over that big coal mine, and that was where they were getting the coke to build the metal, to build the weapons and things. And so Ukraine does not have a functioning coke mine right now to get the metal from. And so why, with the war is really getting to, Ukraine is just about pushed back to the capital. And, you know, you don't see all the red lines in there, but if you keep up with what's happening there, the Russians are just capitalizing on what has happened with the election. Trump wanted it ended, you know, before he came in, and it looks like Putin is kind of rushing things forward. But again, they're getting hit hard. It's wintertime, and a lot of power is out. It says, with a little over 3 weeks to go until President-elect Donald Trump enters the White House, President Biden has ordered a surge in U.S. weapons to the Zelensky government. Of course, you got to get your 10%. And think about this. They're saying, and we'll see it later in this article, that Ukraine really doesn't have the manpower to use this much weaponry. Of course, you got different people, NATO putting more people in, U.S., everybody else. And but right now they're saying they don't know what they can do with this much because they just don't have the manpower to back it up. Well, will it slide maybe through the underground into the other NATO states to prop them up and to maybe to build up a more secure military before they try to take Russia on again? I don't know. But it's pretty bad because the president that has been on vacation for 4 years is just the front man. He's the one that would take the downfall, except that he would be unfit to be judged. But the people behind him, guys, are doing everything they can to tear down everything we have. Now, these equipment, the equipment that they're sending, we're almost out of those types of weapons. So it's like he's selling not he, I hate to say that, whoever is running the country into the ground. Whoever's doing that is setting up other countries and depleting everything that we have right now. The 20th can't come soon enough, but it's going to be long days. And I just hope that the future president has enough good sense to keep his head low until then. He doesn't need to take any extra chances because the demons are becoming desperate. In recent months, the U.S. has provided Ukraine with hundreds of air defense missiles and more on the way, Biden said, and stressed, I have directed the DoD to continue its surge of weapons and deliveries to Ukraine, and the U.S. will continue to work tirelessly to strengthen Ukraine's position in its defense against Russian forces. Guys, one of the things that got shot down in the spending bill, thank goodness, was a 10-year guarantee of continuous support with billions and billions of dollars that would outlast the next 8 years of whoever was running the country. That got taken out. Now, Biden also sought to emphasize the holiday of the timing of the attack, though it should be noted that the Orthodox Church in both Russia and Ukraine observe Christmas on December 25th, according to the Julian calendar, which is January the 7th on the civil calendar. Thus, Christmas in the region is actually still a week and a half away. Launching large-scale missile and drone attacks on the day of the Lord's birth is wrong, Biden asserted. You know he don't care, man. It's, at the White House, they didn't celebrate Christmas, the American Christmas and the birth of Christ. They celebrated, I think, what's called Kwanzaa, African pseudo-something that was invented somewhere not very long ago. And it reminds me of the Democrats bowing with the African garbs on a few years ago in that state house. Remember that? They didn't show who they were bowing to. Anyway, Thursday saw Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov responding to Biden's warning by saying the Kremlin could still order attacks on Ukraine's decision-making centers. We selected targets for strikes on the territory of Ukraine, proceeding solely from threats to Russia. These may be military facilities and defense enterprises, Lavrov said. Decision-making centers in Kiev can also quite be such targets, he added. And he's emphasizing that any foreign intelligence groups or anything like that, gatherings, are under attack. Once he has those out, and if the attacks continue, you know these will expand beyond Ukraine. A couple of things we need to pay attention to here in the U.S., guys, very important for the next 3 weeks. And this come out, it's been really started yesterday evening, I think, but it says cracks appear in the MAGA tech alliance, and that is Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. They're the two leaders of it. But remember, I warned a video maybe a month ago that Nigel Farage, once he saw Ramaswamy moving into the MAGA movement, about a year ago, he warned us that he do not trust him under no circumstances. And it looks like Nigel is surging ahead in the political situation there over in Great Britain. But what has happened in just the last couple of days, Vivek has come out and showed his true colors. Sometimes you just get these feelings about certain people. I had it, other people had it too. And now he's talking about how he's downplaying the blue-collar and white-collar workers here in the U.S. He's saying because they're not really intellectually adapted, in very soft words, to the manufacturing and the jobs that we need. And so it looks like we've had a snake in the grass creep into MAGA, because what he's talking about, and now he's getting in a lot of trouble for it, he wants to push the visa, 1B application for foreign workers from India. He doesn't want to hire the U.S. grads to go into these engineering jobs, and they're talking about, and Musk was talking about, they need to double the ones they have now. They get them cheaper, and they put the graduates here that need the jobs for whatever, to live with, pay off their student loans or whatever it is. They need the jobs. But I knew something was wrong with the guy. And I'll link to a couple of articles. But now he's saying what we need is America's lazy. They're not well educated. They'd rather watch football than try to, study, get ahead and all these things. And some of those I kind of agree with. There's a lot of lazy Americans that are living off of our taxes. I'm not talking about people that need it. I'm talking about people that are taking advantage of it. But he wants to push back on any of the U.S. hiring and get more and more visas in to get the Indian technicians in, because he says they work harder, more productive, and they're cheaper. So here is what we're seeing the snake pop up and seeing behind it. We knew something was wrong. I saw in the video, I talked about it before, in the comments that people were concerned about him. And we talked about Trump wanting to keep the country solid, financially, militarily strong, all of those, because that way his company prospers, right? That's the kind of president you want, because if his companies prosper, the U.S. prospers. If the U.S. is prosperous, then the jobs are higher paying. People can afford to get homes again. They can afford to not stress out every day like they have for the last 4 years in the downhill slide the devil has developed and put in place. But Elon has the same problem, and he mentions it here. And so this is his reason for getting into MAGA, because he saw the nation was going downhill in a handbasket very quickly, right? So step in, say that, but his alternative motive was the same as Ramaswamy's. Let's see what he says. As much as Trump supporters appreciated Elon and other Silicon Valley types like David Sachs helping getting Trump elected, many fear that the price would be more foreign workers for that tech industry. Those fears were validated on Christmas as Elon and others, including Ramaswamy, called for just that. He said, no, we need more, like double the number of engineers that we have now. The number of people who are super talented engineers and super motivated in the U.S. is far too low. Think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever. We're not really running that type of race, Elon. We're trying to build the country back, and that occurs by building back very strong jobs for the people that are here. Again, he's following Ramaswamy's path. They want these visas for foreign workers and listen, it's an insult the way they did it, saying the U.S. is too lazy, too dumb, too sluggish to fill the engineering jobs we have. What it is, no, they require decent pay. He said the conflict was further fueled by the revelation that recent Trump appointee, this is not Ramaswamy, this is Saram Krishnan, wants to lift country caps on the green cards. In other words, each country is allotted so many for engineers and top-level jobs. Why? Because the owners of these companies, many of them you know very well, want the people that will work, that are qualified, but will work for maybe half price of what it cost them to continue to support the country they live in. Imagine a CEO of a big company destroying everything around him, the jobs and everything else, to import people in there, and he doesn't think that his company will eventually be affected. They're just not thinking straight. But this is demonic thinking. Again, so we're seeing now Musk, Ramaswamy coming in here to take over the job situation for their companies to prosper, not for the U.S. to prosper. It's a pretty rough thing, but you will start to hear more and more about this crack in between Doge and MAGA. Now, I don't think Doge had complete authority over their department, not Ramaswamy and Musk. I think a lady that was appointed like the supreme czar over it, I can't remember her name anymore. Some of you guys can look that up. But she may have been like the final decision in anything that happens. So we got to watch this very close. All of that cheerleading that they did was not to help America. It was strictly to help to get cheap labor from their own countries. Now, Musk, not necessarily from South Africa, where he's from, but to get cheap labor. But we've seen China do this. We've seen India do this. Send in, usually they'll be U.S. trained, very well spoken, and kind of like Trojan horses. They climb slowly up the ladders. They've got so much backing from money coming out of India. You've seen it with the rise of mini-type stores and things like that, motels, everything you can think of. If they can get that money, get it cheaper, they've rotated it around 3 years or something to avoid a lot of taxes, whatever. But what we're seeing is it looks like implants coming out of those nations to take over our jobs. That's just as dangerous as anything else. That's not rebuilding back MAGA, not rebuilding back the opportunities that the people that voted this new administration in. That's not what we asked for. Not very happy about it, guys. I'll put a couple of links in the video or below the video in the comment section. You check it out and let me know what you think, because that is exactly what they're trying to do. There's a certain group moving in there, and I hate to say it, but we've seen this move through the Pentagon, Same thing. Look at the spokesperson there and the other major, large companies. And how have they made their money? Bringing in cheap labor. Anyway, guys, we're watching you. You watch it. The battle is not over yet. It's a heads up. Be safe.